So one of the most common questions that's asked is how can you use MBTI in choosing a mate, choosing a spouse, choosing that significant other? And especially as you go forward in life, you'd like to be able to find someone that you can build a life with. And generally speaking, people with complementary MBTI personalities are going to get along best. However, there are some exceptions in that rule. However, you need to know your personality type. It's important because it helps you to better understand one another. It's going to help you to resist the temptation to really try to change someone. You need to make sure that you don't go into a relationship trying to change the other person. It's also much healthier to develop within your own personalities than trying to fit into the image of another personality type. So when we look at this, we want to look and see how compatibility is largely based on your personal preferences. However, this being said, some general patterns do exist. Starting with the extroverts versus the introverts. The extroverts are really most suitable for introverts, and introverts are wonderful to be matched up and paired with an extrovert. Let's look at why. So extroverts use energy. They love to gather energy from being with other people, and they bring it out in the open. However, an introvert is going to find their energy by being alone. They like that solace and that quiet. So here's the problem. When you have two introverts in a relationship, they're going to kind of look for different sources of energy, and they're going to find themselves not fully connecting with each other. If you have two extroverts in a relationship, they really have more interest in reaching into the outward world and outside of themselves and others. And because of that, they don't make a deep attachment. When the introvert and the extrovert combine, the extrovert is going to help to pull that introvert out of their shell and into a more public arena, while the introvert is going to aid the extrovert in recognizing those times of solace that they need in order to rejuvenate and to rebuild themselves. When looking at intuitives and sensing, this is really best when you have intuitive communicating with another intuitive, or a sensor with another sensor. And if you think about this, you want to be able to understand how one group is going to relate and communicate and rely on data and information, while the other is going to rely more on that intuitive sense, their feelings, and what just is more or less going to be best. When you look at judging and perceiving, look at how judgers are really most suitable for perceivers. So let's take a moment and look at the judger. The judger likes to be in control. Now the perceiver, however, likes to look at all the different options. The judger also is going to look at opinions and decisions, while the perceiver is going to evaluate every single thing that's possible. Now, if you were to combine two judgers and put them in a relationship, they're both going to try to be in charge. They're both going to want to have dominance, and they're both going to end up creating a conflict because they do both want to have dominance. They don't see all the different possibilities. They each are going to fixate on one possibility, and they're going to drive all conversations and interactions in order to achieve that one possibility. Now, they also tend to verbalize all of their problems, and that also creates some difficulties as well. Now, if you put two perceivers into a relationship, they're going to have trouble actually deciding what's best. This is because they are going to toss out every possible combination of solutions, and before long you've got tons of information, but nobody's really making any decisions. This leads to passive aggression, it leads to being deceptive, and also what happens is at some point one of the perceivers is actually going to take the role of being the one that's verbalizing all of the problems so that they can be resolved, and in that case then the other perceiver feels more attacked. So one of the greatest things to look at with MBTI is to see and to look at the dominant functions. So most people are going to find themselves to be most compatible with someone whose dominant function complements their own dominant function. So for instance, if you have an ENFP, that means that their dominant function is going to be an extroverted intuition. They're going to be best paired with someone who's going to have a dominant introverted intuition. Okay, so that might be like an INTJ. So when you look at these, you might want to see where the dominant function is and what the opposite is. So looking at that dominant function, remember that this is going to allow both partners to really understand each other. It's going to complement those functions. That way, they're going to approach issues from different perspectives, and it's also going to enrich their relationships, not just within conversations, but that total interaction.